Hey, what's up, guys? Graylan Stewart here with another video. Obviously, I'm in my car. So I've been in Oklahoma City the last several days. I went there to watch my daughter play basketball. She plays at a college there in the city. And while I was there, obviously, I check on some projects. Sometimes I'll check on some rentals and that kind of thing. So I apologize in advance. The audio was probably not great. I tested out their microphone and it just sounds terrible in here. So bear with me. I'll try to talk loud so you can actually hear me without struggling. But so it was a productive week or so. I wasn't there quite a week, but 5 days, 6 days. So basically, I forgot a lot of problems with some of these houses. It's just the pitfalls of not just having houses, but being a landlord in general. So landlording has never been for me. I've done videos on that. I'm a terrible landlord. I don't like it, which is why I choose to do rent to own for the most part. Okay, so but my very first house that I bought, which wasn't that long ago, April of 2019, was my very first rental house. So I bought that property and I put a renter in it. Okay, now I did remodel it, but I did remodel it the way I would today. Because when you're starting out, you're always looking for ways to cut corners because you don't have as much money, all those kind of things. So that's what I did. I hired a cheap contractor. He was terrible at his job. So it was kind of shoddy work, I guess. But, I hired him. He did the remodel, didn't do everything he was supposed to do. Of course, that's the way those things work. Typically, the work wasn't great. However, it was remodeled. It looked decent, just at a glance. It did have new flooring, new a lot of new stuff. But I got a tenant in there at the time. I actually made that house into a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath, which it was sort of that. It was more like a 3-bedroom with a 1 full bath, and the half bath didn't work. So I made it into an actual 4-bedroom because I had a converted garage halfway, but it wasn't converted all the way, so I converted it. So anyways, it is a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom property now. So back then, only 2.5 years ago, I got $850. Now this is in northeast Oklahoma City. It's a nice brick house, but $850 was kind of top of the market, back then. Probably $750 to $800 was more like the max. So I felt like I pushed it a little higher even. I mean, I probably had like 100 applicants on that house. Everybody wanted it, but I did a terrible job vetting people too, as far as vetting my tenants. I was brand new. I didn't really know what I was doing as far as rental properties go. I'd already been wholesaling for 5 months or so I kind of figured that out. But, rentals, I didn't have it figured out yet. So anyways, I did get a tenant in there. She was a decent payer for, I don't know, good 7 or 8 months. But then she was always kind of behind. So, she, at this point, she's been in there, over 2 years. And this last, basically all of 2021, she hasn't paid hardly anything. I don't know exactly the months, but, there's late fees. You don't pay. I have a $75 late fee automatically after the 5th day. You're not paid. So with her late fees and back balance and all that, she owes like $8,500. So anyways, I got a notice from the city of Oklahoma City, I think last week, saying that I owed them money because they had to clean up the property. So that told me right there that, she's probably gone, because I'd already tried to text and call her from my call rail number, by the way. I don't give people my real number, tenants and people like that, but, or sellers. So I couldn't get a hold of her. So that was one sign that was strange. She usually replied to me. But another sign was when I got that actual, notice from the city, basically saying that I owed, I don't know, $380 or something for a cleanup. So, anyways, I went by there the other day. I did a video on it, but the property was trashed. Luckily, she did clean out most of her stuff, so at least I don't have to really clean out a lot. But there is still a bunch of junk outside of the house. There is still some stuff in the house, mainly my property that she trashed, like the refrigerator, the stove. I don't know. Anyways, a lot of damage happened to that house from her and somebody. Could have been her or one of the 15 people that lived there, which was supposed to only be 2 people. But long story short, someone stole all the copper out of the house from the furnace. Someone stole the entire air conditioning unit. I don't see how that stuff gets by without people seeing, unless you do it in the middle of the night, I guess. I don't know. But it's kind of weird. But either way, a lot of stuff, went wrong with that. And then another property that I have in Tulsa, it's a commercial property. It used to be a church. So this property I was going to do rent to own, because I don't like doing rentals. So I advertised it as rent to own. I had a ton of interest. For whatever reason, this guy talked me into just renting it to him. And I knew better. First of all, I didn't want a rental, but he was willing to pay like top dollar, more than top dollar, I felt, to rent it. So I went ahead and rented it to him. But that was a huge mistake, because that was in July. He paid me a deposit, and I gave him, because it was like mid-July, so I gave him the rest of July to kind of, because it needed flooring. I did remodel it lightly. I didn't want to put a lot of money into it. I just wanted to make it, clean and everything functioning. And I was just going to let whoever got in there do the flooring and whatever else they wanted to do, because it was kind of an open box, right? It used to be a church, but it could be a showroom, it could be a daycare, it could be whatever you want it to be at this point. So I didn't want to do too much to it. So anyways, I did do a brand new commercial HVAC unit. It's a heat and air combined unit. I mean, it's close to $10,000 for labor and, the unit itself and all that. Somebody stole that. Of course, I knew it was a bad area, because after I bought it, someone did that to the current air conditioning, because it was working. So anyways, we even put gate around it, like actually welded a nice gate around it and on top of it, and barbed wired the top around it. Somebody still broke through all that, cut it all out, and took everything they wanted from the AC unit. So anyways, I went to Tulsa, boarded up the doors a little better, just securing them for the meantime, changed out the locks, because the tenant, hasn't paid me. So he owes me several $1,000s, because it was a couple $1,000s a month for that property. It's a small church, 1,500 square feet. It's got a small building beside it, about 300 or 400 square feet. And there's not really much parking. So anyways, and it's in the ghetto. So it's got a lot of negatives to it, but it is semi-remodeled property. So, but this guy completely trashed it, evidently. He was basically running the garage sale out of there every day, I guess. He was supposed to be one of those consignment type shops, to where you have other vendors come in, like you might have a candle person, somebody that makes shirts, different things like that. That's what it was supposed to be. But after looking at it yesterday, or whenever it was, day before yesterday, he basically ran a garage sale. I mean, there was trash and junk everywhere. It looked worse than it did before I remodeled it, trash wise. I mean, it was in every single room, all outside the property. It was crazy what people can do. So anyways, when you count the church, my Northeast Oklahoma City house, and I've got one house in Ponca City, Oklahoma. That's the only 3 rentals I actually have. All the rest of my properties are rent to own. So here's a lesson for you, and for a reminder for me. Rent to own people, in my experience so far, it hasn't been a long time, but I've got about 27 properties, counting the ones I'm remodeling. So they're not all rentals, but most of them are rentals, right? Or property assets that I'm getting money on per month. Only 3 of them are actual rentals. So 2 of them are completely trashed now. The people left, and they both owe me $8,000 to $9,000 each. So rent to own people, I haven't had any trouble. Sure, I've had one move out, but I got somebody right back in there, and I actually made more money doing that because they both gave me deposits, right? Down payments. So rent to own, in my opinion, is the way to go because they manage themselves. People are taking care of your property better because they're taking pride in it because they hope for it to be theirs fully one day, right? And I don't do the lease option type of rent to own. I do owner finance because almost all of those houses that I own are free and clear. I got mortgages on a couple of them, but for the most part, free and clear. So I'm literally the bank for these houses, for these tenant buyers. And then my third rental that I have is in Ponca City. I bought that house with the tenant, and I just let her stay. She wanted to do rent to own. We just never got around to doing the paperwork, but she'd already been there for several years. And she's a good payer. She's never brought it up again since I bought it, probably a year and a half ago now. And she's paying, I raised her rent. I more than doubled her rent. And she's paid it every single month. Every once in a while, it's a couple of days late, but I get an extra $75 when she does that. When I say late, my payments are due the 1st. You have till the 5th. And then if it's after the 5th, it's automatic $75. So she is late probably half of the time. So she ends up paying an extra $75 every month. A lot of months at least. So no complaints there. But my rent to own properties, y'all, I don't ever have issues with those. So that's the way to go, in my opinion. And like I said, I've only been in this business just over 3 years now, so I'm still a newbie, basically. I've come a long way in a short amount of time, but I'm still learning a lot, especially, assets. I feel like I've got wholesaling down as good as anybody. I'm still trying to scale it up. So yeah, I'm definitely not doing the kind of revenue that tons of other investors are doing, but we're doing pretty good. 100 plus every single month, but my goal is to add a couple of zeros to that. Obviously I want to do $1 million a month, so that's my ultimate goal. But can't complain doing 100,000 a month or more every month consistently. So what I'm saying is, yes, I consider myself an expert in wholesaling real estate for sure. I'm not an expert in rent to own. I don't know, maybe I'm an expert in rent to own because I do have a lot of it. Definitely not an expert landlord though, because I don't really do it, and obviously I'm terrible at it. I've got 3 rentals and 2 of them are terrible. So obviously I've got a lot to learn on that. Because I do see the value in landlording compared to rent to own, because the downfall of rent to own is if they do stay, you're eventually not going to own the house anymore. I do 15-year mortgages on all of mine at 12% interest. So, I make a lot of money, and if they do pay it off, great. If they don't, that's okay too. I get somebody else in there. So I haven't been doing it long enough to know how long people will stay or not. Because I've only had one person actually leave, and I've had to start over on that one. But I don't know. So I've been doing it close to 3 years now, as far as the rental properties go. So rent to own is my favorite. Anyways, I'm rambling on at this point, but the lesson of the day is, for me, it's a reminder that rent to own is what I need to do for my personal portfolio, right? You guys can decide what you want to do. If you want to do rental properties, Airbnbs, whatever, okay? Now that I bring up Airbnb, I did have 6 Airbnb properties in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Corona killed those literally overnight. So I turned those into rent to own properties, and they're all perfect payers now. But I am going to my personal house in Colorado. We are keeping that house to do Airbnb, because we're building a new house. We're supposed to move in December sometime, like mid-December. And so we're keeping our personal house, and it's a pretty high-end house, so it'll be like an upscale Airbnb, because we're basically leaving everything that we already have in there, because we pretty much 90% of the new house is going to have new everything. We're keeping a couple of key items that we want to keep for that house, but everything else will be new. So that was the benefit. Like, hey, let's Airbnb it because it's already furnished. We don't really have to buy anything. So, but I'm also doing another Airbnb in Oklahoma City, which I did a video on that while I was in the city. So you'll see that soon. And that'll be a pretty nice upscale Airbnb as well, because it's in one of the most sought out areas of Oklahoma City called Military Park. So ARVs in there are anywhere from 200 to 500 depending where you're at and what you do to your property. So I'm going to make it super nice. We'll probably end up putting close to 70 grand in it with labor and materials. Just labor alone, I think it's about 50, because my contractor, I walked it with him the other day. So it's going to be super expensive, but it's going to be super nice. I'll refi out of it and get 100% of my money back. So I'll basically have that asset for zero out of pocket. It'd be a high-end, upscale Airbnb, but that'll give me a place to stay in Oklahoma City when I'm there. Because I do go once every month or two, typically. It wasn't my plan when I finally moved to Colorado full-time, but that's just the way it's worked out over this last 12 months. Because I lived in Oklahoma City and Colorado simultaneously for 7 years. I was on a plane every single week. Anyways, so I end up going there a lot, so I'm going to Airbnb that so I have somewhere to stay, as opposed to hotels all the time, right? It'd be more comfortable and nicer, and I'll just block out the dates that I'll be there. So it'd be an asset that pays me, and it's going to appreciate a lot. That's one of the most appreciating, neighborhoods in Oklahoma City. So that'll be awesome. But anyways, and then obviously remodeling those 2 rentals that are trash now. So a lot of things on our plate again. That tends to take pretty much all of my time these days. Managing my properties, for one, which is not a lot of management in the rent to owns, but I do have another property that's been sitting vacant for a while that I went and took a good video of it so I could show that to people, because I had a contractor do the last one and it wasn't great. So that'll help me too, getting that rented without having to give people lockbox codes all the time. And by the way, I do require them to give me a copy of their ID to get a lockbox code. So that's a side note for rent to owns on that. But anyways, so I've got a lot of projects going. That tends to take all of my time, just managing flips mostly, and my few actual rental properties that I have that I'm actually going to do rent to own on now. But anyways, hopefully you guys found value in this. Just kind of letting you know, obviously this is my vlog, just letting you know how my trip to Oklahoma City went. So it was good. Got to see both of my kids there. They're both grown in college. Got to take them to dinner. Me and my son went to watch a movie on Halloween, which was kind of cool. So it's always good to see my kids there for sure. But anyways, hope this video served you well. Hopefully you got value out of it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe if you haven't done that already. I'm not sure why people just watch videos and never subscribe, because I do have repeat people watching these over and over that have never subscribed. So do me a favor and just hit that button. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps me out a lot. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.